Good morning. I guess it's not really morning. Well, good afternoon, early afternoon, Buff fans. Troy and I are back with another episode of the CU Sports Report podcast. Travis Hunter won the Heisman. The bowl game is coming up. Christmas is next week. The holidays are here. I'm really bad at decorating for Christmas, at least around my
Same.
house. But once I go home, it's like, I really get into the spirit. Colorado picked up eight. I'm really excited for Christmas weekend. So Colorado picked up eight commitments in the last week, I would say. They picked up six yesterday. Coach Prime said that. I think we got a darn near. I think everyone darn near committed. That's not quite the quote, but everyone did commit following Tuesday's press conference, and quarterback in Caden Salters, a defensive tackle, a kicker with a huge leg, a tight end, a center, variety of guys that we will get into. But yeah, it's been a good week since we've last talked, and yeah, hoops going on. South Dakota State, the Buffs won. I know you said they were an interesting team. They won again that game, and then the Buffs play this weekend. So a lot to catch up on. Still kind of reeling in from all the fun I had in New York, maybe a little too much fun. And yeah, I'm trying to figure out my sleep schedule because when you stay awake for basically 2 days straight, it rewires your brain. Anyways, enough about my personal health because that doesn't matter. We'll get into some recruiting and talk about the guys that we like from where the Buffs picked up in the transfer portal. Linebacker, starting with Reginald Hughes, Nikai Hill Green, as well as Trevor Woods, who played a little safety and was the Buffs starting linebacker this year and last year. Well, not this year, but partially this year. Colorado really needed a linebacker, and this guy had a really productive season while Jacksonville State won the Conference USA championship. He had a breakout season this past year with 82 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, really effective, able to get into the backfield, and really good at the second level there. Interesting to see how he steps up in a power four setting. And um, also, defensive tackle Gabriel Lightfoot visited CU last weekend. He had 27 starts for Fresno State over the last 3 seasons, a lot of experience there. I think a guy who can, one, provide depth, but also be potentially one of those pieces that comes in and makes an immediate impact. Um, Jaheim Otis also visited Colorado last weekend. Huge commitment for Colorado, a guy that is going to start immediately. 6'5", 325 pounds, 57 career tackles, 5 pass deflections, and 1.5 sacks. Didn't get a lot of action at Alabama, but I think he will be a piece that Colorado will use immediately. Oklahoma's Makari Vickers, cornerback. He was a four-star recruit in the 2023 class. He ranked 81st nationally and 10th at the position. Alabama and Michigan were recruiting him, so that's when you know he was a really good player. But he committed to Oklahoma and gradually worked himself into the cornerback rotation for Oklahoma. His first season, last season, he wasn't really able to see the field due to disciplinary reasons. He only played in 4 games his sophomore season this past year. So, into the portal looking for new opportunities. But Makari Vickers is definitely someone that has a lot of potential, and there's no better place to be a cornerback than under Coach Prime, the best to ever do it. Also, this kicker, I was really excited about this guy. He's one of a really sought out kicker in the portal. He um, 51 of 56 of Buck Buchanan's kickoffs were touchbacks, and only 4 of his kickoffs were returned. And we know that Coach Prime really wanted to get some more touchbacks this year because between 5 different buffs, they combined for just 17 touchbacks on 74 kicks, and 71.6% of those kickoffs were returned this year for the Buffs. So this guy is going to hopefully completely flip the script, and he also made a program tying at Louisiana Tech 57-yarder against NC State and a 55-yard field goal. So this guy's got a leg. He can kick it far. 57 yards is really really far. Could you kick a 57-yard field goal?
No,
Okay. Just making sure. I
I
just want to make
can't.
sure.
I can't kick. I don't know why. I never was able to do that.
it's like a special talent because I know like
It is.
I've
It's
definitely seen
hard.
a lot of soccer guys like make a lot of soccer guys from my high school like went to college and then they became kickers.
Hmm.
My friend, one of my good friends, sorry, side tangent, he was a soccer player and he became North Dakota State's starting kicker. Shout out to
But
him if he ever listens to this podcast. Northwest Missouri State tight end Zach Adkins committed on Tuesday. Recorded 18 catches, 179 yards, and three touchdowns in 9 games this past season. While he was in the portal, programs such as LSU, Arkansas, Pitt, Cal, West Virginia, South Carolina, and a bunch of other teams reach out to him. So that's when you know he was really sought out. A lot of teams are looking for a tight end, and I think this could be a guy that Colorado can actually because you know they don't really have a necessarily true tight end with Savell Smalls making the move from defensive end to tight end, and of course, as we all know, that the tight end position was a blocking first, receiving second position. So it'll be interesting to see if Pat Shermer wants to get outside of his 10 personnel sets and incorporate the tight end more in the pass game and see what they can do on the run game too. He's 6'3", 240 pounds, redshirt sophomore, and has 2 years of eligibility left. And center Carter Miller, he's a junior. He started all 12 games this season at center and played 714 snaps for Louisiana Monroe, and he received a 76.7 pass blocking grade from PFF. And last but not least, I saved this one for the last because this is probably the most notable and definitely will shake things up for the future. Liberty quarterback Caden Salter, Conference USA MVP in 2023. Last season, he completed 147 passes for 1,886 yards, 15 touchdowns, and he's great with his legs as well. Dual threat, 567 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. This is a guy that was looking at a bunch of schools. Syracuse, Florida State were also in the mix, but ultimately Colorado was able to sway him. I don't think he even visited Colorado yet. I know he had a visit planned, but he committed ahead of his visit, and it'll be interesting to see. Julian Lewis last night played in his state championship, but it'll be an interesting quarterback battle because you got a guy that is a well-seasoned quarterback, a junior, a guy who was recruited by Tennessee, but unfortunately, due to disciplinary reasons, was let go for the team. Had a really successful time at Liberty, led them last year, not this past year, last year to an undefeated season, and they got beat in the Fiesta Bowl by Oregon and was a leader and is a well-rounded quarterback, a guy that you want, a guy I think that can easily make the transition into the Power Four. And um, Pat Shermer said that they wanted another quarterback. That's something that we talked about, and he certainly hinted on Tuesday that we might see that happen, and then we saw it happen. I know you were really hyped about Caden Salter. What do you think his future is going to be like in Colorado, and how do you like him as QB1?
yeah, this is a really good bridge move by the Buffs, I think. It gives you a year to, you have a veteran quarterback who's proven that he can produce at this level. He's proven that he can play at a high level, even playing on a Liberty team that is obviously less talented than what CU is going to put out next year. He did have a bad year this year. He was kind of in and out of the lineup, banged up, got benched. But last year, the production really does not lie on a team that was Liberty was a lot better last year than they were this year. This year, Salter was working with basically nothing. Um, on that team. So next year when he gets here and he's got all these receivers to throw to, we'll see who comes in the portal. But Draylon Miller will be back. Omarion Miller will be back. That will give him a couple of proven pass catcher options. And then up front, you expect the offensive line to continue to just get better. Jordan Seaton will be in his second year. We'll see what happens at center with Cash Cleveland, with Carter Miller. One of them kicks over to guard. So that group should be improved. I really do like this Salter pickup. It will be the most interesting part of it is how the offense evolves because
Mm-hmm.
he's not Shador Sanders. They're completely different players. He's not Salter is a good passer. he's got a good arm, but he's not the same kind of precision pocket passer that Shador is. He's not the kind of point guard distributor kind of player that Shador is. He does push the ball down the field really well. That is something that he does often, so that will help them be explosive. But Pat Shermer is going to have to lean on it's going to have to be a little bit more of a run-based
Mm,
uh, offense. It just is with the running backs and the quarterback, because if you don't use Salter's legs, you're wasting his maybe his most valuable skill set is
hmm
his ability to run the ball as a quarterback. Gives you an extra body blocking when you run the quarterback, so that's big. So that I expect them to adjust to that. I expect them to run the ball a lot more next year. We'll see, obviously, who's back at running back, whether it's Isaiah Augusta, Micah Welch, someone else. We'll see, but it's going to look different next year if this is the best version of the offense with Salter at quarterback. But I do think that uh, he is still an explosive, talented player who can help this team have a very good offense, and it is a definitely a good thing in my opinion that they're bringing in a veteran to kind of ease Julian Lewis into this thing rather than just throwing him to the wolves right away.
Yep. Wouldn't be college football or it wouldn't be life in general if you didn't have to adapt and evolve. And like you said, this offense is not going to be a carbon copy of what Shador Sanders and all of his pass catchers emulated on the field every week. Julian Lewis last night played in the 6A championship. It was supposed to be his first ever state championship that he won in his career, but unfortunately they lost 38-24. He threw two interceptions, had two touchdowns, 30 of 42, and for 333 yards. Solid game, two picks. Will get you in some compromising positions, and it was a pretty big upset. Carrollton was supposed to win over Grayson, and Grayson was able to win the Georgia State Championship. But Julian Lewis coming in, and like you mentioned, this is a really good pickup for Colorado to get Julian Lewis more acclimated. In an ideal world, Julian Lewis would probably start for Colorado for himself, but Colorado needs someone to take that solid backup that has collegiate experience that can really run a college offense. So Julian Lewis won't be carrying the burden of that load. Ryan Staub
Great.
also in the mix as well, but he will probably be backup between probably QB3. We'll see.
It's very mature team building what they've been doing last year too, but this what they've started, obviously there's a long way to go in this off season with all of the reshuffling that'll happen, but it's very mature, sound team building with going after depth, going after veterans. Just they don't kick any position to the side and say, oh well, we have guys there. They're looking to improve at every spot, and I think that is a that's a good sign early in this process.
Yeah, I think we've seen the gradual process of Coach Prime year one. A lot of G5 guys figuring it out. Year two, very successful, picked up a lot more power four talent, was able to. I think we've definitely seen build a team through the portal. And once again, I think we're going to see that happen or loading up at defensive tackle. And I'm interested to see if they get another linebacker with Trevor Woods and Nikai Hill Green also in the portal. Side note with Colorado picking up Caden Salter, Adam Gorney, the national recruiting analyst, said that Jonte Cook, Texas wide receiver, former four-star, said the pickup from Colorado, picking up Salter, that could help Jonte Cook potentially go to Colorado, which would be a huge pickup because he's a really, really talented receiver out of Texas, and he could probably be that main substitute for LeJohntay, for a Will Shepherd, a Jimmy Horn, a guy that can play immediately and is a really talented wide receiver. So keep an eye out on that.
Yeah, that would be big too because CU did miss out on two of their top receiver targets yesterday. Caleb Odom from Alabama committed to Ole Miss, and Eric Rivers from Florida International committed to Georgia Tech. Yeah, Georgia Tech.
Hmm. Yeah, I was just also, and well, a couple guys that we mentioned last week that the Buffs had their eye on, Tulsa wide receiver Joseph Williams. He planned to visit with Colorado, but he committed. He was supposed to visit Colorado this weekend, but he committed to Utah. And then Oklahoma center Joshua Bates committed to SMU, and I think that led to.
Utah's having a good Utah's having a good portal period.
Hmm. Kyle Whittingham, man, respect. He's built quite a incredible program there at Utah. I mean, they're always one of the powerhouses. This year was kind of one of those odd years where everything was flipped upside down, where the top guys were at the bottom and the bottom guys were at the top. Um, Still to be determined, NC State transfer Casey Concepcion is still in the mix for Colorado. He hasn't committed anywhere, so that could be a notable one for Colorado as well as they try to replenish their wide receiver room. Travis Hunter, the Heisman. See, I have my they gave us these packets. Predictable. I kept my packet. It has all the results in here of just like the breakdown and the voting. And that was one of the best trips that I took. I had an incredible time. It was just like one of those moments where you just kind of remember for the rest of your life. It's rare when you get to go and cover those kind of events and have a athlete like Travis Hunter. It's really just one of the more remarkable things where we'll go back and say, I just don't know if there'll ever be a player quite like Travis Hunter, maybe, but he really shattered so many ceilings playing on both sides of the ball. He brought home the Lincov Award for Best Wide Receiver, Bednarik Award for Defensive Player, Horning Most Versatile Player, Walter Camp, Lot Impact Award, Big 12 First Team Offense and Defense, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, AP National Player of the Year, AP All-American First Team on All-Purpose Offense, and First Team at Cornerback, and Second Team at Wide Receiver on the All-American team. So it just doesn't get much better than that. And I thought Travis' suit was the best out of the four. Maybe I'm biased. I think Ashton Genty's was a close second, though. I did like the color. And Ashton Genty and Travis, it was close. I was interested to
Very
see how
close.
the voting would go down. And Travis Hunter, 552 first place votes. Ashton Genty, 309. But from a point perspective, and that's what ultimately decides the winner, Travis, 2,231 points. Ashton Genty, 2,017 points. And Ashton Genty and Travis Hunter, two non-quarterbacks, really leading the way in the voting here. And of course, Ashton Genty has had a remarkable season that is comparable to Barry Sanders. Ultimately, I did think Travis would win, and of course, Travis won. Were you surprised by the voting? And what were you doing? Any reactions from the Heisman ceremony? The speech, dude, the speech almost got all of us Colorado reporters. It was just like moving. He just did it off the dome, and I feel like he addressed so many different things and acknowledged everyone, and it was just a fabulous speech and a fabulous experience on my end, and the food was really good.
Yeah, the speech was excellent. Like you said, very moving, very authentic. Like you said, he did it off the top of his head. So that was great. Really an all-time acceptance speech there. The voting, I was surprised because the vibe on the internet was that it wasn't going to be close. I thought it should have been close. I thought it deserved to be close. Um, I thought that's how good both guys were all year. It was the closest vote since 2009 when Mark Ingram, Colt McCoy, and Toby Gerhart, which is a great
Dude, Colt
child.
McCoy, that sounded like a flashback.
First place votes that year were 227, 222, and 203. That's how close
Mm.
2009 race was. So that was but yeah, this year it deserved to be close. I didn't think it was going to be close, even though I thought it should have been close. So I was pleased that it was um that it did end up being that close. Travis absolutely deserved to win, the best player in college football. Elite on both sides of the ball for all of the Twitter heads who just say he's plays both ways and is average at both positions. He's not.
Crazy,
I
crazy
promise you,
statement.
he's not. Um, it's just not true. Elite at both positions, that playing a full workload on both sides of the ball, obviously, clearly the best player in college football. So no, nothing surprising. I was slightly surprised that Dylan Gabriel finished third over Cam Ward, but Miami missing the playoffs certainly factors into that. But yeah, overall, just a really great night for Travis, really great moment for Travis, and something that's so well deserved for everything that he's done for this team, for this program, for Colorado football. And yeah, he is a legend. Retire the
Really.
12.
Retire 12. I mean, it's only fitting Rashad Salam's number is retired, it seems. What Travis has done at Colorado and just across college football really pioneered maybe a new way of thinking or having schools. Maybe if there's a guy that is really truly capable of playing both ways, opening doors because that wasn't really. I mean, it was feasible. We saw it with like Charles Woodson and Champ Bailey and a handful of like other guys, but not to the extent in which Travis Hunter
But
has played the game.
those guys weren't playing full every down, both sides of the ball. They
Yeah.
played packages on offense similar to what I think Travis is going to do in the NFL. But they weren't playing 80 snaps both ways, block, like they would come in at receiver and the ball
Hmm.
was supposed to go to them. They weren't out there blocking screens, blocking run plays, running decoy routes, runoff routes. Travis is out there every single play. It's really unique and unlike anything that we've ever seen.
It was a great season. It was really fun. Excited for the Alamo Bowl. Speaking of the Alamo Bowl, we'll get into it because next Thursday, the day after Christmas. Like I said, I'm excited for Christmas, but CU BYU on December 28th. The game's at 5:30 Mountain Time. San Antonio, Colorado is a 2.5 point favorite in this game. It's very close. BYU was the reason Colorado did not get into the Big 12 championship. So this was going to be a potential Big 12 championship rematch, a little revenge game. It's good to close out the season. It seems like everyone will be participating. Interesting note that Amara and Miller said during practice that y'all will see me in the bowl game for sure. You did look still a little banged up. We'll see what
He may have
his
been
it.
trolling. He may have been.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. Um, but Travis can play, Shadora's gonna play. Um, Colorado's trying to put their best product out there. I mean, there's like this like lackadaisical energy, but there's also this motivation to get that final win, finish out the season strong, of course, and BYU is feeling the same. Um, Last time I watched BYU was the really hilarious Houston game, where it's just a little bit of chaos. Houston fumbling the ball, BYU making some interesting mistakes, and it feels like that at least towards the end of the season. I mean, BYU, of course, were undefeated for the majority of the season until they lost against Kansas and they lost against Arizona State. They were a really solid team, but maybe a team that did have some interesting mistakes throughout the way. When you watch BYU, what do you like about this team? What are their strengths, and how do you think they're feeling going into this matchup?
Yeah, Big 12, Big 12 third place game. Interestingly, with the Pac-12 bowl tie, I would put CU not making the conference championship game more on Houston than I would on BYU. Houston
True,
lost that game
they did.
significantly more than BYU did anything to win it. Um, this BYU team is a solidly good team. They're balanced. They play well on both sides of the football. I really like their offense. I really enjoy some of the things that they do on offense, specifically with their alignments. They do a lot of stuff with their wide receivers. They have two really talented wide receivers, Chase Roberts and Darius Lassiter. and they move him around. They move him in the slot. They play him on the outside. They move him into the backfield and kind of motion him around and get. This has become a thing in the NFL. Cincinnati does this with Jamar Chase. The Lions do this a lot with Amon-Ra St. Brown, but they'll move their receivers into the backfield to try and create mismatches, which against a team that plays as much man coverage as Colorado does, if CU is not locked into who is lined up where, you're going to end up with some of these really, really good wide receivers against linebackers and safeties, and that is not going to go well. So that's something that CU needs to really be locked into who is lined up where in the formation for BYU because they will mix it up to try and create advantages for those guys.
Hmm.
They send them in motion too out of the bat. They do a lot of motion in the backfield a lot too, just to get guys out into the route a little bit quicker, get a head start against some of these teams that are playing man against them. So that is something to watch for CU. They do a lot of multi-back back. A lot of it is one of back and one receiver in the backfield. For anyone listening to this that plays college football 25, they run the split backs play where they motion one guy out behind the quarterback. They do it all the time. And then they run it. They'll hand it to him on a sweep. They'll throw it to him on a little swing screen. They'll just motion him out as a decoy and hand it off like a regular run. So they do a lot of that. Um, and then the quarterback's a good player. Jake Retzloff, he's got a good arm. He is a little bit reckless sometimes, so CU should have some chances to make some plays on the ball, especially when he's under pressure. This is something, I mean, there's not many quarterbacks who get better under pressure, but this is something that we talked about with Jalen Daniels of Kansas a lot, and CU wasn't able to get pressure on him. Retzloff, when he's pressured this year, is under 50% completions with one touchdown and four picks compared to 19 touchdowns and six picks when he's not pressured. So
Mm.
the CU pass rush will have a big role in this game. Can they throw off this BYU offense? And then they should have an easier time doing that with some of the injuries that BYU is dealing with. I don't know if either of these guys are going to be back, but their starting right tackle and their starting right guard have both been banged up. They both missed that Houston game. Um, so they are kind of hurting. That hurt him in the Houston game. That led to some of those mistakes that you mentioned in that kind of wild game. And they will, my last thing, they will run Retzloff. My last thing for this side of the ball. They will run Retzloff, especially when they spread it out. They'll go 10 personnel, four receivers, or
Hmm.
11, and they'll just flex the tight end out into the slot. And they will just run QB draw. And Retzloff is really good at it. He scored a
Mm.
touchdown on it in that Houston game. He had a big conversion, I think, on third and like 12. They called QB draw, and he picked up a first down. So that is something that they really like to do as well. Obviously, that's something that hurt CU a lot earlier in the year, so that's something to keep an eye on when BYU has the ball.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what Colorado decides to do at the second level because Nikhai Hill-Green, Coach Prime said that if you enter the portal, then you're not going to be playing in the bowl game.
We will
And
not be having a Merry Christmas with CU.
but Jeremiah Brown withdrew following Nikhai Hill-Green entering. We could see some action with him, Levante Bentley. But do you think they're going to switch
Yeah.
up their front in order to accommodate, or are they still going to do that 4-2-5?
No, I think it'll be a lot of the same, especially against BYU. It's a lot of 10, 11 personnel. They're not going to get out here and just line up in big bodies. If
Hmm.
they do, I would maybe expect an extra lineman, maybe a five down, like a bare front kind of thing from Robert Livingston if they're really just pounding the rock but that's not really what BYU does. They're a solid running team, just like they are a solid throwing team, but they're not it's not like Kansas where they're gonna come out and say, we're gonna just pound the ball all day. That's just not really what they want to do. So I think it'll be a lot of base stuff. You mentioned Bentley will be big. A lot of Jalen Wester in this game. We'll see if Jeremiah Brown, the Redshirts can play. So I will see how much Jeremiah Brown there is. But I don't expect anything super Uh,
Different.
super different from Robert Livingston. It's a big loss though. Nakai is a big loss. We've
Hmm.
talked about it at length on this program. One of the best players on the team this year, point blank. One of the best players on this
Yeah.
defense. One of the most productive players on this defense. So that is a big loss.
Oh, yeah, significant. Interested to see what Reginald Hughes can provide maybe in that same area, or if Colorado goes and picks up another linebacker. There's a long, long off season ahead. Final score prediction of the season. I just got to pick Colorado winning because why would I pick BYU? All of a sudden, I've been picking Colorado this whole season, but unfortunately did not go undefeated this year. Um, I just feel like maybe Colorado has an edge in this one. Really hyped on Travis Hunter. I think it'll be like one final send off, and it feels like Shador really wants to show up for his guys that like Jimmy Horn and Omarion potentially, but guys that were injured this year didn't have a chance, and maybe will have a chance in this game. Like you said, Jake Retzloff, Colorado brings the pressure. It'll be a lucrative one for Colorado, maybe on both sides. But BYU is like just certainly one of those interesting Big 12 teams where they really emulate what the Big 12 encompasses, and in terms of craziness, doing something really exceptional, and then also just being bad, sprinkling a little bit of bad throughout the game. So I'm gonna say sometimes bowl games too, it's just like all offense and no defense, but I think the defense will be stout in this game. So I'll take CU 28, BYU 24.
Yeah, there's been some wild bowl games. That Memphis West Virginia game the other night was all offense, like you said. Yeah, I like this matchup for CU. I do. I mentioned, BYU makes it tough on you offensively, but they have been sloppy those last three games. You mentioned the two losses and then the win against Houston. They were really they were just sloppy, just like lacking consistent precision and execution on offense. I do think there's holes for them to exploit on that side of the ball. I do think the linebacker thing is a big deal without Nakai. I think that really, really hurts CU a lot. On the other side of the ball, I like CU. BYU's a good defense, top 20 defense, but they're not disruptive. They're more sound than they are disruptive. And I think that CU is they're going to move the ball unless you do something to make them uncomfortable. And I'm just not sure that BYU does that. They do a lot of three down lineman stuff with two backers walked up on the edge, and they do a lot of drop eight, a lot of drop seven. They'll bring one guy. BYU's leading tackler also is injured. He missed the last game of the season. Harrison Taggart, their middle linebacker. So I don't know if he's going to be back, but that would be a big loss for them at linebacker as well. But I just think on defense, I don't know. Combined the talent in CU's passing game with the reluctance of BYU to really kind of apply the pressure on that side of the ball, even though they are a good defense, they are a sound defense. Um, I just think that CU is going to score too many points for them in this game. I'm going to go 38-28 CU.
Like that score. I'm gonna write mine down so I can have it for the round table later down the line. As last thing, I think Trevor, I forgot, I thought Nikai entered this past week, but Trevor Woods was also one of the more recent guys to enter the portal. So far, 15 buffs have entered their names into the portal. You got one, two wide receivers, two quarterbacks, two O linemen. Um, I guess I listed Trevor Woods as safety, but he can kind of go both ways. Colorado looking to fill a lot
He
of those
should be a safety
needs.
at his next
Yeah, I
spot.
think he should be a safety for sure at his next
Someone needs to
spot.
move back to safety.
I'm really interested to see what offers he gets because these are really, I always thought he was a really good safety.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know what the market for him will look like. That'll be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah. One of the final 2022 buffs to say goodbye to the program. I don't think there's anyone else that is remaining from that roster other than a couple walk-ons like Ben Finnesseth, um, and Charlie Offerdahl. Can't forget Charlie Offerdahl. we love that guy, and Colorado football really emulates hard work and consistency, and yeah, he's always got a reliable guy. Uh, Final category of the pod, as we always finish it off with some hoops. The women did not play last time we spoke. They got West Virginia this weekend, as we talked about in the podcast. West Virginia is a very good team. Colorado is 9-2 heading into this game, and yeah, nine. They're kind of like in the middle of the Big 12 right now, floating around at 9-2. West Virginia is one of the top teams, and it's good that it's a home game. They'll have some home field advantage, and it'll be interesting to see what Colorado can bring to the table as conference play begins against, a really well-rounded conference. And I think similarly with the men's on that side, I mean, they start conference play against number 3 Iowa State. So both sides are getting just thrown into it, and we're gonna see what happens. um, for I don't know if you have any notes on the women, but uh, this game is going to be really telling on where they kind of stand in the conference.
Yeah, it's a big one. Conference opener. It's a difficult opponent. The time off is good for them because they had that thing where Kendall Weta and Kennedy Sanders ran into each other at practice and got concussions. So they've had, I believe, by the time they play, it'll be 8 days off, roughly, maybe more than that. Um, so that'll be big for them to kind of just have a calming presence back, just somebody that can handle the ball, run the offense. Johanna Tedder was running the point while they were out. So that'll be nice to have them back, especially Kendall defensively against a really, really good West Virginia team that is supposed to be one of the best teams in the Big 12. They have been one of the best teams in the Big 12 so far this year. They only loss is to Texas, who is in the top five, so no shame in that. They've got two really, really good guards, JJ Quinterly and Jordan Harrison. Both average more than 15 points a game, so having Weta back will be huge for that. But we'll see. This is another one of those kind of measuring stick games for the women that we talked about when they played Louisville. How do they kind of stack up? How just where do they stack up against a team who is solidly a top 25 team, one of the best teams in the league? And even though they lost that Louisville game, I think that they passed that test. I thought that they looked pretty good. I thought that they played pretty hard. They had 5 really poor minutes in the second half that cost them the game pretty much. Um, and this is especially, I feel like this is totally anecdotal, but I feel like especially for the women in the last 2 years, this is a really tough place to come play. It's a really, really tough place to come win games. I think that the pressure that this CU team puts on you defensively, they don't play with the same pace that they did when Jalen Sherrod was there, but it's just a difficult place to come and play 40 minutes just with the amount of disruption that this CU team provides with their length, their athleticism. And I think if they lean on that in this game, they can make it a game. But the where are they going to find points is the biggest thing. We've talked about this before too. West Virginia has these two guards who can go get you a bucket when you need one. Who is that going to be for CU, especially outside of Frida Foreman? That's the biggest question, and I think that's the biggest challenge for them going into this one.
Yeah, I think we've seen throughout their non-conference play a variety of different women stepping up in certain situations, but never a consistent figure in that. So maybe as as the season goes on, there'll be more consistency there. But there's always just been one or two, either Leora Garzon or Jade Mastigayo, um, Sarah Rose Smith. Definitely, it varies on the evening and what they want to put out on the floor and what that product looks like. But defensively, well-rounded. Offensively, kind of don't know where you're going to get every evening. On the men's side, they played one game since we talked last Thursday against South Dakota State. Won 80-71 at home. This was the Julian Hammond game, 23 points, and he was leading the Buffs. Of course, led the Buffs in scoring, 8 of 14. Yakumovsky, this is another game where he was kind of taken out of and only had 4 points and went 0 6 from three. Wasn't really hitting the three very well. I mean, you mentioned that South Dakota State's it's one of the better teams, one of the best teams of the Summit Conference uh, tournament team potentially in the future. Colorado was able to outscore them 40 to 35 in the first half and 41 to 35 in the second half. So it kind of kept them away, kind of kept them at a good arm's length. RJ Smith, 11 points, and Elijah Malone, 15. So three double digit contributors in this game, shot 50% from the field. Three wasn't really their forte this game, 7 of 24, 29.2% from three. But luckily, Julian Hammond was having a fantastic night as well with Elijah Malone getting in and working in the post. When you were watching this game, what did you see? What you like from Colorado, and what was South Dakota State doing to maybe make this a game, or yeah, just make it competitive?
Yeah, this is an impressive win. Really, really impressive win over a good team. I know that CU was supposed to win, but this is a good basketball team that they played against, a talented basketball team that can score the ball. They can play defense. So I was really impressed. Julian Hammond, you mentioned he had 17 points in the second half. He was excellent in this game. He had a huge 4-point play that kind of put the game away late. And this is something that we talked about at Maui. If Julian Hammond can make shots, make tough shots, make threes, get to his pull up in the lane, just these ways that this team needs to find offense. They need to find points. Who's going to be that guy? Julian Hammond is becoming one of those guys that can, hey, I can go get you a shot here. There's 10 on the shot clock. You can give the ball to me. I'll get a screen. We can get a good look out of this. And I think that that is really big for this team. And I think that that's part of the reason that they've been able to have success early this season. That was on full display in this game. Elijah Malone was very good. RJ Smith is just becoming a really, really good basketball player. He's not gonna pop out of the stat sheet night in and night out. But he's become a really, really good shooter, really reliable shooter. His defense has gotten better. He can handle the ball as a secondary ball handler. He had 4 assists in this game. Um, Good playmaker, good scorer. He's just a really, really solid, sound player that we kind of saw glimpses of before he got injured last year. But this year, he's really grown uh, into being like a super role player of sorts that this team really needs. He's in the starting lineup now. I think this was his second straight start while Trevor Baskin comes off the bench. And that looks like it's really working for him. So obviously, we'll see how Bellarmine goes. This is a good South Dakota State team. CU's defense was not perfect in this game, especially guarding the 3-point line. South Dakota State got a lot of open looks from three, especially early in the game. I think they finished above 40%. I don't have the number in front of me, but
44%,
um,
11 of 25.
yeah, so a little bit of lack of detail there defensively for CU, but I thought that those signs from RJ Smith and Julian Hammond offensively, that was such a big takeaway that from this game that you can beat a good team who's shooting the ball well, scoring the ball, and you can kind of go toe to toe with them. So that was big. Bellarmine is not very good.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be nice for CU. Bellarmine also plays tonight, and then
Saturday.
they play tonight at Wyoming, and then they play Saturday midday in Boulder at like 1 o'clock. So there's less than 48 hours between games, which is
Oof.
uh, interesting scheduling at altitude. Uh,
Yeah, I did
so that's
that.
an interesting one. Um, I don't think CU should have very much trouble in this one, especially they've gotten better with their starts too. Like the beginning of the year, the starts were all over the place. I mean, you were down by 10 points, you're down by 17 points against teams that, quite frankly, you should not be down by that many points to at any
Hmm.
point. Um, I don't expect that in this one. That feels like something that they've kind of gotten under control. And then they'll go off for the holiday break and come back to Iowa State. Have fun.
Woo. Yeah, Iowa State, one of the best teams in the nation, number three, as I mentioned. Travis Hunter will be honored before the Bellarmine game on Saturday, so show up. I think they're doing like a picture of the Heisman Trophy at 11:30. So Be there for that.
The ad was misleading though. They had a Travis Hunter basketball jersey on the advertisement that they posted, and then nowhere on
hmm
the advertisement did it say that you could get a Travis Hunter basketball jersey. My
Travis
bro
Hunter basketball jersey. I feel like they at least they'd give Travis a Travis Hunter basketball
my
jersey.
brother and I were trying to figure this out, but maybe. I don't know. We'll
Yeah, a
see.
Travis
Maybe
Hunter
they
basketball
will.
jersey would be sick. They should sell that. I feel like they would make a lot of money. We'll sell it. We'll tell Seth Troy.
They could put Hunter on a lot of things right now and make a lot of money off of it in
True.
in the future.
Lucrative, if you're listening, see representatives, lucrative opportunity for you there.
And we
Colorado,
want royalties too.
yes, we want 90%.
We want royalties too.
So you guys can take away 10 and we'll get 90. Colorado 8-2 so far. They're on a three-game win streak. Um, 8 teams in the Big 12 currently stand 8-2. It's pretty wide open. Anyone can take it, but I would say, man, I think we saw it
Be
in
a
the
fun
Maui
time.
Invitational. They are a good ass team. But we'll get over that hurdle when we need to. That is all for me. I'll be celebrating Christmas with my family. Food, favorite Christmas tradition or f Christmas food that you do with your family?
Um, I don't have like a specific like tradition. I don't know. We usually just hang out and watch football and eat. I think
Yeah.
we're eating a little prime rib is
Do you
always
like Bloody Marys?
no. My dad loves them. I don't.
Mm, I'm a big fan, especially on Christmas.
Yeah.
Um, I would say, yeah, Bloody Marys in the morning, football. I will definitely be working though, so I can't,
Same.
alas. But Christmas is such a great sports day. 5 basketball games, 3 football games, two, one.
Two.
Oh,
Just two.
okay. Oh, thank God. That takes a lot off of my plate for my job. But anyways,
Love.
enough about me complaining about my job. I do love my job. That's why both jobs have treated me well, and I'm excited to watch this Alamo Bowl game. One last one for the road and see if Colorado can end 10-3 on the season, and we'll see who Colorado picks up along the way. More discuss, more talk about, but we'll see you guys next time. Peace.